gone ahead and completed the inspection. I have all the necessary data and measurements along with the series of photos from the crawl space. And I also understand that the groundwater seepage that you're experiencing down there is the problem that you would like to get resolved permanently. Now, we could go ahead and take a seat in the living room. What I have found is that the majority of my homeowners really like the educational process that we provide and want to know exactly why this groundwater seepage issue is occurring in their crawl space. So I have a short clip that we can watch that will give us some insight into how the home was built and what is occurring. So let's take a look.
In the past, many homes with a crawl space were on perimeter columns and were open to the outside. When heating and cooling systems became common in homes, solid walls were needed around the crawl space to protect the mechanical systems and ductwork. However, the addition of the perimeter walls introduced a new set of problems to the home. The first problem is that groundwater was trapped in the crawl space. It then stacked up against the perimeter walls and under the footing. When it rains, water moves easily through the backfill soil against the home and into the crawl space. And with heavy rains, the water table begins to rise and even more water is trapped under the floor. In either scenario, the incoming water will flow to the lowest point, and the lowest point of a home is the footing. So not only does this trapped water add excess moisture to the air, it also washes out and weakens the soil that is supporting the home. Unfortunately, liquid water was not the only problem that arose from closing the crawl space. Even without liquid water in the crawl space, the large pad of soil under the home is always damp. The moisture from the soil is constantly evaporating, and this vapor travels straight into the floor framing system. Floor framing was not designed to be full of water. When builders realized what was happening, they knew they had to come up with a solution. The first thing they attempted was installing a plastic black ground cover to block the rising water vapor. Unfortunately, vapor continued to come in around the ground cover seams and through the porous block walls. The next thing builders attempted was to put holes in the walls to allow the vapor to escape. While this seemed like a good idea, what actually happened was that the holes at the bottom of the home pull air into the crawl space, just like the hole at the bottom of a chimney. Building scientists refer to this as the stack effect. Simply put, air in the home moves from bottom to top. In the winter, the air pulled from outside is cold. This causes pipes to freeze, cools the HVAC system, and creates cold floors. That leads to cold floors in the home, expensive heating bills, and makes the home less comfortable. In the summer, the air that is pulled in the crawl space is warm, humid air. When this warm, wet air mixes with the cool air in the crawl space, the relative humidity spikes. In fact, for every degree the temperature drops, the relative humidity goes up by 2.2%. This leads to condensation, saturated insulation that falls to the ground, and a soaked floor framing system. And this wet environment causes the perfect breeding ground for mold and rot. And since up to 50% of the air on the first floor of your home comes from the crawl space, whatever is happening below the floor is making its way upstairs. This can lead to air quality issues that cause odors and potential health problems. Clearly, traditional crawl space construction doesn't work. But before we get into the options to fix the crawl space, why do you think that this is happening to your home?
So why do we think this is happening to your home? So that rising water table, when we do have those extreme storms, the crawl space being below grade, water following that path of least resistance is going to go ahead and work through that backfilled soil, which is loosely compacted by the builder, making its way towards the footing and getting trapped into the crawl space. We're both in agreement? Okay. Here's just another visual of what you already know. I've snapped some photos of the crawl space that I'll share with you as well, but we get the idea, correct? Now, Historically, there's been primarily one option for repair, and it's been known as exterior drainage. Essentially, it's a damp proofing of the exterior foundation wall. Now, it is done at the original home build and is much more effective when it's done proactively versus retroactively, because in this instance, what's required is extremely invasive, extremely expensive. It requires trenching around the entire home, removing driveways, concrete, walkways, HVAC systems in order to expose the foundation wall so that you can put a tar coating alongside it, and then you'll have a drain alongside the footing. It has some perforated slits, which over time will be backfilled with back soil, but next heavy rain, odds are that you're going to have dirt and debris clogging that drain. Typically, they last anywhere from 5 to 7 years. Essentially, you are looking to do the exact same thing and expecting a different result. Does that sound like something that you would be interested in doing? Ripping up all the landscaping, driveway, walkways, in order to try the same solution that has already failed you? Okay, doesn't sound great. Awesome. Now, here's just a visual of that 5 to 7 year average range that those clogged drains typically last on the side of your home. Already a failed system that we've experienced and don't want to do again. Another option or a thought is, why not regrade and direct the surface water away from the crawl space, because that will push water away from the footing. Now, what would be required in order to do that is a regrade of about 3 feet, slope down towards the sidewalk. And in your case, once again, we run into that issue of ripping up all your landscaping, regrading, which from the measurements I've taken seems like it's not even feasible. But in addition to that, would be an extreme amount of work with no warranty provided to give you a solution that's a permanent fix. So what homeowners are often left with is the thought that I could go ahead and install an open sump. This is a DIY project. Just taking a quick look at this photo, do you think that this is a very effective solution towards permanently managing groundwater seepage in your crawl space? No, I didn't think so. So let's go ahead and look at the groundwork solution. Our engineering department has gone ahead and created a view that gives a very high level explanation of what our solution is. Let's go ahead and take a look at the clip.
A wet, muddy crawl space is certainly something no homeowner wants lurking under their home. In addition to being nasty and an eyesore, a wet crawl space, if not corrected, can lead to both structural issues and health challenges. The first step to fixing a wet crawl space is to permanently control groundwater seepage. The AquaStop drainage system, featuring patented easy flow technology, does just that. And here's how it works. A trench is hand dug around the entire perimeter inside your crawl space. Installing the drainage system inside your crawl space provides a permanent solution without the unnecessary removal of landscaping, porches, and sidewalks. Next, easy flow is installed in the trench. So as water enters the crawl space, it is captured by the easy flow and drained to a sealed sump pump system, preventing flooding of your crawl space. The easy flow drainage uses geosynthetic aggregate with engineered flow channels encased in a geotextile mesh. The design keeps dirt and sediment out, yet allows water to move through the system much faster than conventional methods. This guarantees you a system that never clogs, never fails, and is warranted for the life of your home.
So for just a spotlight And to recap what was just detailed out, we would go ahead and hand trench all alongside the perimeter on the interior of your crawl space. So the drain, the easy drain, would go ahead and sit in that trench. It would then get diverted to a sump pump using the textile fabric. It's guaranteed never to get clogged. It diverts any dirt and debris, and it can expel water up to 5 times faster than anything else out there. Now, here's some additional details on that sump pump where we would be directing the water with our AquaStop system.
The heart of any crawlspace waterproofing system is the sump pump. Unfortunately, not all sump pumps are created equal, and most will fail at some point, leaving you with structural issues, damaged building materials, and stored items. But more importantly, it directly contributes to mold growth and rot. Failure happens for one of 3 reasons. The pump stops working, the pump is overwhelmed during heavy rains, or power is lost due to a storm or a tripped circuit breaker. The AquaStop Triple addresses all 3 issues. As the name implies, the system features 3 independent pumps in one patented basin. The 3 pumps are staged on 2 integrated pump racks, and each pump has its own reed cage protected float switch. Here's what that means to you. The primary pump is responsible for moving water under normal circumstances. Should this pump have a mechanical failure, the rising water level activates the second pump, which is set slightly higher in the basin. Should the first pump not be able to keep up in a heavy storm, the second pump is activated by the rising water level, and both pumps now work together to effectively evacuate the captured water. If power is lost and the water rises above the level of both these pumps, a third sump pump, which is connected to a battery backup, now takes over. In the unlikely event that water passes all 3 operating ranges, the AquaStop monitoring system alerts you to rising water, allowing you to take preventive action. The AquaStop Triple provides the highest level of protection. You can sleep easy, knowing you will never have to worry about a flooded crawl space again.
Just a more detailed view of the triple pump. There's built-in redundancy, so if the first pump were to fail, the second one kicks on. If you were to lose power, there's one that works off of a backup battery. Typically, if you were to lose power, it's usually in those scenarios where there is heavy rain, heavy weather, times when you would need that sump pump to be kicked on. So that backup battery option keeps your home protected in all case scenarios and is guaranteed for the life of your home. Now, water will be diverted out of the crawl space, so it'll be elbowed out of the foundation wall. Then it gets 90'd down to a piping that is redirected roughly about 10 to 20 feet away from the home. It is then expelled out of a drain. The piping gets covered up, so you will no longer see that visible trench. And what ends up at the end result is you have this yard well that prevents any type of dirt, debris, insects, or animals from clogging the drain. And it blends right in with your landscape, buried low enough where it won't impact if you mow your grass. Now, do you have any further questions about the permanent solution that I have presented to you?